Good morning, team. Alex here. Guys, today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about weight loss. Now, I know I'm in a different room to I usually am. It's early in the morning, so I have the living room, so it's good. So, out here today. So, before I start saying anything, if you haven't seen my first video, which was about the fundamentals of nutrition, go check that one out first, because that kind of covers all the nitty gritty on how food, nutrition, all that kind of stuff works. That's not really what we're going to talk about today too much. We're going to talk a little bit about the basic, principle of weight loss, but more we're going to talk about the best strategies I find in actually succeeding at weight loss, and also where people have a bit of trouble. So that's what we're going to get into today. So let's get started. Okay, so the first bit we're going to talk about today is how weight loss actually works. So just the kind of the maths of it is the first little bit. So the defining law of it all you have to do to lose weight is eat less calories per day than your maintenance calories for the day. Your maintenance calories are the amount of food, the amount of energy your body needs to maintain weight and continue all the functions you do during the day. Now, if of course you're someone like a brickie, or a tradesperson, or someone who's very active all day, then your maintenance will be higher due to physical activity. If you're someone who's smaller, right, your maintenance will be lower just because you're a smaller person. You won't need as much food to keep going. If you're a bigger person, it'll be bigger. Things like that. Right, if you're more sedentary, if you work more an office job where you don't get up and move very much, you're going to have a lower maintenance, right? Unless you're doing a lot of physical activity outside of that. Okay, so that's how your maintenance works, and I'm actually going to try and link a couple of calculations, or places you can do a calculation that I find reputable online for how to figure out your maintenance calories, right? Because it's a little bit different between men and women. They have a little bit different there, so I'll link both of those. And that's a good way to find out what your maintenance calories should be. Now, there are factors that can affect what your maintenance calories actually are. Like, for example, if you have been on a lot of diets for a long time and you've been eating really low calories, your body may well have adapted to work in like a starvation mode, where it works at a lower maintenance and it works on like reduced function. So you're actually not, your 100% productivity. Because your body's working at reduced function because it thinks you're in a famine, basically. And so that can actually affect your maintenance. And if that's the case, if you're eating what your maintenance says but you're putting on weight, usually, unless you're doing a lot of weight training, and then it can be more acceptable, then it usually can just be a bit of muscle. But if you are putting on weight at what your maintenance should be, likely your maintenance actually isn't what you've calculated. And what you need to do is slowly build up from what you are eating to what your maintenance should be. Just slowly, like say 50 to 100 calories extra every week. So for example, if my maintenance was 2,000, but I had been eating 1,300, my maintenance actually might be now 1,400 because my body's in starvation mode. And so I slowly got to build from 1,400 all the way up to 2,000. And I would do that over the course of many weeks, and increase maybe 50 calories a week, 100 calories a week maybe, depending how it goes every week on how much I'm eating per day. Right? And if I would keep track of my weight as I did that, if it started shooting up, I would leave it there for a bit. I wouldn't move up the calories, and then as the weight stopped moving up again, that's when I would start moving the calories up slowly again. Right? Yeah. So that's how weight loss actually works. Now, I know a lot of people will probably be like, well, that doesn't work for me. I've tried that and I think that's wrong. I think there's more factors. And there are, of course, factors to weight loss that affect different things. But that there, with the maintenance and the eating less than maintenance, if it's your actual maintenance and you eat less, no matter what it is, what foods they are, they could be donuts, you will lose weight. And that's simply how it works. Because that's a conservation of matter, conservation of energy law, like a law of physics. Like that's very fundamental for the universe kind of thing. So the ways in which you can perceive that as being incorrect or not working for you there's a few. One, one of the main ways is if you're tracking your food, you're incorrectly tracking your food. Or if you're thinking about what you're eating, you're incorrectly recalling what you're eating. You're simply calling whatever might be 200 grams of chicken breast, you're calling that 100 grams, that kind of thing, because you just don't make the judgment with your eyes too well. Yeah, you aren't weighing the food. And look, I do that too. You know, I've done this quite a long time. I can't guess exactly the weight of the food I'm eating. So, you know, if you actually want to track properly, my biggest recommendation, and I know it's a bit of a pain in the ass, but is actually weigh your food to make sure, hey, yeah, I actually am eating this much. So that's the first place to check if you're eating less than your maintenance, and your weight's not moving. That's the first place to check. The next bit is you're snacking more and you're forgetting that you're snacking pretty much, or you're forgetting the amount it actually counts. Because I know I've done this myself, because I'll snack and I won't really put it in, because I'm like, oh, I only had a few nuts or something, and it's like, oh, I can't be asked. And it's not important and it's planned, I might even just forget about it. But I've definitely had it, and they're like, oh, why isn't my weight moving? It's because, oh, I'm having these snacks. Because things like nuts, they're good for you, but they're actually quite high calorie. And again, calories aren't bad, but if you're trying to lose weight, you've only got so many calories you can budget into the day. So that's another thing. Try and plan your meals and plan your snacks. So you know that if you do have this, you've actually already accounted for it. So that's okay. It's fine to have these snacks, these nibbles or whatever, because you plan for it and it's part of the amount that you've budgeted for the day. The next, I guess, common mistake here is, again, what we're saying is you're found the incorrect maintenance. It actually isn't your maintenance that you think you're aiming for, and that's because you've done, say, the dieting before. So that's another thing to check, is maybe I need to actually, have I been eating really small amounts for a long time? Do I actually need to build up the amount I'm eating? So that's another place to check, after if it's still not moving from when you've adjusted your food there, like what we said just before. And the last one, and this actually isn't a mistake or anything, this isn't a failure or anything like that, is sometimes you just won't see the weight move for a couple of weeks. And the reason behind that is you should be losing weight quite slowly. You only really want to aim to lose about 500 grams on average. Now, if you're a bigger person, you're going to be able to lose more per week than a smaller person would. Okay, but on average, about 500 grams per week is about the fastest you're going to want to lose weight in a healthy manner that won't require, one, you feeling real crap while you're doing it, and potentially have a big bounce back after you finish, you're done with, you reach your goal weight and you lose your weight, because it'll be easier to just transition into maintenance if it's only a small deficit at 500 grams of weight loss a week, right? Because think 500 grams of weight loss a week consistently every week, that's going to make a lot of progress, because you can, if it's just 500 grams, usually the idea is you can maintain that for a long time and it won't affect you, won't make your life feel crappy, right? And it also won't have a poor metabolic effect on your system. You won't drop your maintenance too low from just losing a rate of 500 grams a week. So you should be losing weight fairly slowly. Now the thing with that is your body weight day to day can actually fluctuate up to 2 kilos sometimes. I know mine does, can fluctuate between morning and afternoon by almost 2 kilos, which is a lot. That's a big difference, right? And if you're only losing 500 grams a week, that means for 4 weeks potentially, you wouldn't see any change. And hell, even at the end of the 4 weeks, you may not see any change either, right? If you've weighed on a light day on the first week you did it, and a heavy day on the last week you did it, right? And so you might think, oh, I'm not losing any weight, but you actually are. Now, the reason your weight can fluctuate can simply be when you've eaten and when you've weighed, how much water you've drunk, and if you've had carbs the night before. Now, carbs are good. Now, don't be like, oh no, carbs are bad. No, carbs are good, but what they do is when you eat them, they absorb a bit more water, they hold a bit more water in your body. And so the next morning, you'll actually weigh a little bit more just in terms of water weight. You won't be fatter, you'll just be holding on to a little bit more of the water that you've drunk. You won't have peed it out, right? Because carbs just kind of absorb the water. They're just built like a sponge, okay? So they won't have made you fatter. They will just have held a little bit more water. So there's nothing wrong with them, but that can affect it. If you've had a bit of a more carby meal, or after a workout you've had a few more carbs and you're weighing a bit more, that's all it'll be, okay? Because there's no way, if you can only lose 500 grams a week, you're not going to put on, 2 kilos in a day. It's impossible. You just won't do it. So the way to get around this, and the way to be like, oh, how do I track then my weight loss consistent? The simplest way, if you're looking at just weight, is actually to weigh yourself every day and then take an average at the end of the week. Record it, and at the end of the week, bang, take an average. Because then you can look at the average for next week, weighing every day at the same time, and then you go, oh, it actually has dropped 500 grams on the average, or whatever on the average. If you're seeing a lower number on the next average, that's good. You see that consistently. And if you're not seeing it, if you're not seeing a drop, that's when you need to, okay, we need to change something up on those averages. Okay? And the other way, because sometimes your weight won't move, right? Your actual physical, how much you weigh, won't move due to putting on muscle. Like if you haven't done a lot of weight training and then you suddenly do a lot of weight training, you might still be losing fat, but putting on muscle as well. Your body will adapt. It will be converting stuff into muscle, right? Because it's like, oh, hell shit, we need to use our muscles, right? So you might actually not see a weight change on the scales. And again, that could just be because of how you've been measuring it. You know, once a week, you're just not really seeing much of a change. Or you might just see a very small change. Oh, I've only lost, I don't know, 2 kilos and it's been 12 weeks, right? And that's where using other measurements are important. So that could be tape measure measurements, you know, around your chest, around your waist, around your hips. That can help. That can show a difference, and often does. And photos. Photos are often the most important one that you really see, wow, okay, that is a change. And that's what I find. I've had lots of people who have not necessarily lost very much weight at all. Right? I had a guy, and he had lost, I think, maybe 3 kilos. He was a very big guy. He lost about 3 kilos in, say, I think it was 8 weeks. Yep. So you're like, oh, that's like, it's 3 kilos is not bad to lose, but it wasn't very much, and we wanted to lose a little bit more. But then we looked and we did his measurements, right? He had lost 20 centimeters around his waist. And you're like, oh, that's 3 kilos. This could have been doing lots of weights. He'd been getting real strong too. He's a strong dude. And so that's where having multiple different measures is important. And the key usually is if 2 out of the 3 of your measures are looking positive, you're going sweet, right? It helps sometimes if your photos are looking really bloody good. Granted, it could be lighting, but that's very unlikely if they were looking really banging. If one measurement is really, really good, redo it, see how it goes, and if it's still really, really good, then you're happy, right? If one is making progress but the other 2 aren't, then usually that is a sign of, okay, we probably need to change something up here, right? We need to fix something. Photos, I find, are the best one. If your photos are looking better, well, you know, that tells you a lot. If you're seeing more definition, seeing abs, seeing things like that, that's a really big indicator of, okay, we're doing well. So, if you don't see the weight moving, there's a few factors that can affect that. Okay, so now that we've talked about kind of how it works and some common mistakes you can make, I wanted to talk about the mindset that I believe is the most effective going into weight loss. Now, at the gym, if we have someone come in and their focus is solely on the goal of, I want to lose 5 kilos, I want to lose 10 kilos, they're just focused so much on, I won't be happy till I'm 10 kilos lighter, right? We can bet you, probably 95% of the time, they're not going to lose the weight, okay? And the reason is they're so focused on the goal that when anything doesn't go their way, they're getting patient. When things don't go perfect, they try and switch it up, try and change the track as soon as 1 week isn't perfect. As soon as 1 week they don't see a change, right? Because they're so focused on, we've got to get to the goal no matter what, and that's all I care about, and I will grind through the pain as much as they want. And hell, sometimes they will lose the weight, and if they do, oftentimes, they will gain it all back again because they pushed so hard in, say, that 8-10 week mark, where to the point of it was just terrible. It was a horrible 10 weeks and they just toughed it out, right? And at the end of it, bang, they're back to their old ways and the weight shoots back up again. Okay, so that can be dangerous focusing on that goal too much. Now, I'm not saying don't set goals. Definitely set a goal, because that's a really good way to measure off. But once you've set the goal, you should then work on, okay, so when I'm 10 kilos lighter, what am I doing with my food? Assumably you'll be at a 10 out of 10 with your food, or a 9 out of 10, you'll be really good with your food, right? So ask yourself, when I am 10 kilos lighter, what is this version of me doing in terms of exercise, in terms of health, looking after myself, mental health even, and my diet? What is this person doing? And you might say, they're going for a run once a week and they're hitting the weights twice a week, right? I'm prepping my lunches every day, and I'm only having 5 drinks over the course of the weekend. That might be, and that might be a 10 out of 10 for you. And if I'm doing that, I am smashing, right? Because if you're then doing that, the weight loss will come. So that's the second goal I want to focus on. You set your, okay, I want to be 10 kilos lighter, or I want to have this pant size or whatever, and set and forget almost. You know, you keep it in the back of your mind. But then go, what am I doing when I'm at that goal? To get to that goal, what will I do? And that's where you focus on building your habits. Because your habits become what you are. Yeah? Your habits become your character, become you. You gotta build the habits of the person you want to be. If you want to be a healthy person, you've got to build the habits of a healthy person. You can't just kind of tough it out into being a healthy person. It's not quite how it works. You've got to love and enjoy and be able to live the lifestyle as such, right? And enjoy it. And everyone's different on that. I'm not saying there's one way to live it. You've got to find the way that you actually enjoy, okay? If you don't enjoy it, no amount of discipline and no amount of tough yakka in the world will get you there for any consistent amount of time. You actually have to enjoy the process, and you have to enjoy the lifestyle of whatever you choose. So figure out the habits that will help you, the habits that are important to you, and the ones you can do and the ones you can build. Now, it doesn't mean you go from a 3 out of 10 in your habits to a 10 out of 10 in 1 week. Now, you got to slowly build them. You got to go, okay, I'm a 3 out of 10 this week. What am I going to do next week to make it a 4 out of 10? I'm going to prep all my lunches for work week. I'm going to, maybe I'll prep my lunches for the weekend, because weekends can often be the ones where you fold it because there's not as much structure. I'm only going to have 5 drinks this week. Something like that. Just set one little progress goal at a time, and say, you know, in 10 weeks time, you might be at a 10 out of 10 with your food. And once you're at a 10 out of 10, right, it's only a matter of time before the weight or whatever you're going for just drops off, right? But you've got to build the habits first. And of course, you'll start seeing progress before then, but that's when you'll get the quickest progress. But you've got to build the habits first, and the goal will come from that, not the other way around. Okay? Because you won't be any better or worse 10 kilos. So you've got to build the habits to make your lifestyle, or how you approach food, exercise, all this, better. You've got to make that better. And like I said, I want to rephrase, you're never going to make it to the top of the mountain unless you enjoy the climb. And everyone's climb's going to be different. You know, the reason I enjoy gym, the reason I can keep going, the reason I can do food things isn't going to be the same as the reason you can do it or what you enjoy about it. So figure out what you enjoy. Figure out what you can do. And that doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but if you enjoy it, you can push through, you can make it hard. You know, that's like playing sport. You can play, you know, a game of soccer a lot longer than I can just bloody run back and forth for, because it's a hell of a lot more fun. Or a game of rugby, because it's a lot more fun. So it's like finding things like that. If that's your exercise, if that's the way you're going to get exercise, that's a really good way. Well, I don't like going for runs. Okay, but I really love playing rugby. Do more rugby. That's a really good way to do it. Like, why not? Just do more rugby training, do more rugby games. Like, that's honestly a really good way to do it for most people. Just find the things you love and do them more or better. Okay, guys. So, that's all I wanted to talk about today. That's all that this video is really going to cover. Now, I know I haven't necessarily answered everything, and I want you to make sure that if you have questions about this, just whack them down in the comments. I'll be sure to answer. I'm more than welcome. You're more than welcome to have a chat. And I'm really keen to help you out if I can. But again, habits are your biggest focus, and the golden rule of I guess weight loss is all you got to do is eat less than your maintenance. But that's not the hard bit. That's just the science. The hard bit is you got to figure out your habits and how to make them work for you. Because again, you know, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. You've got to love the journey, otherwise you'll never get to the destination. Okay, team. Have an excellent day, and I will see you all in the next one.